Yeah, it's a stove. My buddy Fred is the best friend a boy could have. This is Fred's 413E that he bought on Craigslist, and we're going to see if we get it to go for him. It's, from the outside, pretty dirty and banged up a little bit, but seems quite reasonable. If we open it up and take a look inside, got some paperwork. How to operate and service your Coleman Instant Lighting Model 413E 2-burner camp stove. The tank looks like it's from an older stove. This is kind of a copper gold colored stove tank, and it has a lot of gas in it. Betcha that's not very good after being in here for who knows how long. And the body is what you'd kind of expect for a 50-year-old stove. It's got some bug remains and got some squirrel food and some leftover cooking. The grate is kind of ugly. It's charred up. It's bent. So most of what we're going to be doing with this stove is cleaning and a little bit of straightening on the bars. But let's start with these burners. The burners in this generation of stove are really a miracle. The previous generation had cast iron burners that were really great and burned really well, but made the stoves incredibly heavy. So these steel discs make for a light yet hot burner. You get them off just with a screwdriver, and you just tug them out gentle like that. Have a look at the other one. One of the things I like better about the 425 stove is that you can take the lid off without tools. It's not that hard here, but it is harder than on a 425. There are a pair of square nuts here, one, and there is the other. And on the other side is a slotted screw head. So take a screwdriver over on this side, and I can take that screw out. So the lid comes off relatively easily, but 425 with no tools, it's way easier. Well, once we get the grill off, which is better, but I don't think, oh, it does. It does. Ha! See, there's these tabs. And this is just dish soap. And give it a, oh boy, scrub-de-scrub. The biggest problem these stoves have is when crud builds up inside this manifold, and just using air won't get that out. So I have developed a technique with a turkey baster. And that's what we want to see. That water pushing through tells us that there's nothing in that manifold. It is clean. So this goes to sit next to the wood stove and dry out. Surprisingly, the pump works just fine, so I'm not going to mess with it. Do want to test flow, so I've got a yogurt cup. Open the valve. We get, looks like a pretty good flow. Nice. We'll coat these with WD-40, and this, believe it or not, is actually what WD-40 is for. So we use WD-40 to displace the water and make it so these don't flash rust. I did some research. The 413 was made from 1939 to 1983. 413E in particular was made from 1954 until 1961, and I think that this is a late early model. So the early models had the brown tank, so the brown tank tells us this is an early 413E, and the support on the wire grate for the generator tells us that this is a late early model. So the very earliest didn't have that. My other one, the one you may have seen in a bunch of cooking videos, mine is an early late. So mine is late because it has the red tank, but it's early because it has the painted handle like this, and it doesn't have support on the grate for the fuel cap, which doesn't really matter. The 413s are all basically the same. The manifold system is basically the same. I also have a 413C, and it has the same manifold and burners. These burners are really a terrific design. There's not that many parts. Of course, there's the top and the screw, and then there's these rings, and there's two kinds. There's flat and wavy, and they go flat, wavy, flat, wavy, flat, wavy, flat. So there's 4 flat and 3 wavy. And they alternate, and that's where your fire comes out of. You gotta make sure you get them in alternating like that with flats on the outside. And then of course there's just the bottom piece, and you want to make sure that all the holes here are clear. There are 2 sizes. The 2 burners are different sizes. The bigger one, this is the bigger one, goes on the main burner. The smaller is the auxiliary. The thing is, it's a little bit of a trick to get the screw down into the hole because you can't really see it. So the best I've ever done is to hold them in one hand like this. And the nice thing about this is you can get everybody lined up in advance. So you hold them in one hand like this and kind of feel around, and you can kind of see in there. That looks right, feels right. Great. I'm going to make sure it goes the right way. So these little tabs are here. Little clips. The clips go over the grate, down into the case. Top feeds into these slots in the back. And the best thing I have found for attaching the screws is actually to tip this up on its side like that. So otherwise you're trying to hold the top up. And the screw actually pokes through from the back, like so. And we're done. It's time for a test fire. Here we are. Lots of orange for safety today. It's kind of cold out today, so we're going to preheat with a propane torch. Get a little heat on that generator, and just crank the valve open. This is not like on a lantern, where you crack the valve. There we go. And sometimes when it's real cold, you may have to open the valve almost all the way to get it to light. We've got a little yellow flame here. We've got a little push out. That's normal while the tip is up. Once this heats up a little bit, we'll put that down. Let's try it. Yeah, not bad. Now that we've warmed up a little bit, we can add a little more pressure. While the rod is up to light, you're using up air at an accelerated rate. So a lot of times you have to add more pressure after lighting. The generator will produce more gas than this burner can handle, of course, because we've got 2 burners. Speaking of 2 burners, open the auxiliary valve. Once you get the aux valve open, you gotta crank your main valve to get max heat over there. So, one tip for shutdown on these is to shut off the aux burner first. If you shut off the secondary burner, then you won't accidentally have it open when you light your primary burner. I've done that a bunch of times, and you feel real dumb. Of course, we just crank this down. Suitcase stoves go out real fast because when we crank this down, we're also running the pricker up into the gas tip.